Good midnight, night owls, wherever you are. The city sleeps, but we don't. Not here, not on Midnight FM. Tonight, we welcome back a voice you've grown to trust, Officer Hayes. And trust me, you'll need that trust tonight, because the story he brings us is one that begins with a routine call at a quiet hotel off Route 19. A simple noise complaint, nothing unusual, until Hayes checked the room number, 607. A room the hotel claimed had been sealed for years. A room tied to a missing officer, a room that should have been empty. But what Hayes found inside, it never left him, and it may never leave you. Officer Hayes, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Jacob, and night owls, brace yourselves, because this one still makes the hair on the back of my neck stand straight up. It happened in late November, about 5 years back. I was on night patrol, working the west side near the state highway. It was past 2 a.m. when dispatch sent a call my way. Noise disturbance at the Hillcrest Lodge, a rundown roadside hotel near Ridgeport, Pennsylvania. Guest in room 608 says someone screaming next door. Next door meant room 607. I didn't think much of it. Hotels get weird calls all the time. Fights, drunk guests, kids running around. But the Hillcrest Lodge was practically empty that night. Only 6 cars in the parking lot, all of them cold to the touch when I checked later. And when you've been a cop long enough, you learn that a cold car at 2:15 a.m. means the driver hasn't moved in hours. Inside the lobby, the night manager, a man named Vernon, about 60, balding, hands shaken, looked pale as a dead sheetrock wall. "You're here for the noise?" he asked, voice trembling. "Yeah," I said. "Room 607. The moment I said the number, he stepped back, like I just slapped him. "Officer, we don't rent that room anymore." His voice broke on the word anymore. "So why is there someone screaming in it?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "You won't believe me." "I've heard it all," I told him. He shook his head. No, you haven't." He walked behind the counter and pulled out an old ledger book. Pages yellowed, some entries scratched out violently. He flipped to a marked page. Room 607 was sealed 12 years ago, after an officer disappeared inside it. "An officer?" I asked, suddenly hyper-aware. He nodded. "Officer Greg Harmon. Checked in alone, never checked out. The room was locked from the inside. No sign of forced entry, but he was gone." I felt a cold shift in my gut. I'd heard the name Harmon before. He was one of Ridgeport PD's only missing officers. His case file was thin, too thin. "But why would there be noise now?" I asked. Vernon didn't answer. He just pointed toward the hallway. "You'll hear it yourself." And he was right. The moment I stepped past the lobby desk, the hotel felt colder. Not winter cold, not AC cold. Something else. Something that felt like walking into a basement where something awful happened. The hall lights flickered. The carpet smelled damp. Every footstep echoed too loudly, even the soft ones. As I approached room 607, the air became heavy, like walking underwater. Then I heard it. A voice. A woman's voice. Sobbing. Whispering. Repeating something too low to make out. Then suddenly, a sharp, blood-curdling scream. I rushed forward and banged on the door. "Police! Open the door!" The screaming stopped instantly. Silence. A thick, unnatural silence. I tried the handle. Locked. I leaned my ear to the door. Nothing. Not a breath. Not a whisper. The silence felt wrong, like the room itself was holding its breath. I stepped back and called Vernon over. "Give me the master key." His hands shook so violently that he dropped it, and when I picked it up, I could feel his hesitation in the way he let go. "Be careful, officer. Room 607 doesn't like visitors." I ignored the comment and slid the key into the lock. It clicked, but not like a regular hotel door. More like something heavy slid out of the way inside. As I pushed the door open, cold air rushed out, hitting my face like I'd opened a freezer. I reached for the wall light switch. It did nothing. So I lifted my flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, and the first thing I saw was a shadow. Not a silhouette, not a trick of light. A full, blackened outline of a person standing in the far corner. Tall, still, facing the wall. "Police," I said calmly. "Turn around slowly." Nothing moved. Not even a breath. I stepped inside, the door creaking behind me. The cold became sharper, almost burning. My breath came out like fog. I lifted my flashlight higher. The shadow didn't match the walls. It didn't bend with the beam. It didn't behave like a shadow should. "Sir, I'm giving you one more warning." Before I could finish, the shadow dissolved. Like smoke sucked into the wall. Then, the whispering began. Not from ahead, from right beside my ear. Hayes. My name. Whispered in a voice I'd never heard before, but somehow it knew me. My flashlight flickered. Something skittered across the floor behind me. The air throbbed, heavy, pulsating, and then the closet door creaked open by itself. I turned toward it and saw fresh blood smeared across the inner surface of the door. But the worst part? Something metallic glinted from inside the closet. I stepped closer, lifted the flashlight. My chest tightened. There, lying neatly in the darkness, was a worn, rusted police badge. And the name engraved on it? Officer Greg Harmon. The badge felt ice cold when I picked it up. Not metal cold, colder, like it had been sitting outside in winter air for hours. I turned it over in my hand. The engraving was unmistakable. G. Harmon. RIDGE Port Police Department. Officer Harmon had vanished 12 years ago, and now his badge was sitting in a sealed room with fresh blood drying inches away. I stepped back, fighting the urge to call for backup immediately. A missing officer's case was no small thing, but there was something else, something pressing against my instincts, telling me that whatever was in this room didn't belong in any police report. As I scanned the closet further, my flashlight froze on something written along the back wall. Thin lines of red smeared unevenly, forming a sentence. "Help me find the door." My stomach tightened. The letters looked dragged, not written, as if someone or something with broken fingers had scraped them across the wall. Before I could inspect further, the hotel hallway lights flickered twice, then died completely. The entire building plunged into darkness. My radio crackled violently in my pocket, the static sounding like something whispering underneath it. "Hey, get out!" I lifted it closer. "Dispatch, repeat." Static swallowed the words. Suddenly, the room's temperature dropped even further. My breath came out in thick fog. A faint tapping sound echoed behind me, slow, hollow, like a finger tapping on old wood. Tap, tap, tap. I turned quickly. Nothing. Tap, tap, tap. This time closer, at the end of the room near the headboard. My flashlight trembled in my hand as I slowly raised it. The bed was pressed neatly, too neatly, like it had never been touched in years. But the pillow had a deep indent in the center, as if someone's head had been resting on it moments ago. Tap, tap. The tapping came from underneath the bed.
I approached slowly, hand moving toward my holster. Every instinct told me not to look, but I crouched anyway, directing the beam beneath the frame. A face stared back at me. Not a human face, not fully. The skin was gray, stretched thin. The eyes completely black. No eyelids, just two round pits reflecting my light. The mouth opened, not to scream, not to speak, to mimic my breath. In and out, in and out, perfectly matching my rhythm. My heart leapt into my throat. I scrambled back, reaching for my weapon, but the face slid backward unnaturally, disappearing into the darkness under the bed like water draining down a hole. The tapping stopped. I stood, chest tight, pistol drawn. Then, movement. A small shape lay folded at the foot of the bed, something I hadn't noticed before. A cell phone. Old model. Cracked. Battery compartment taped shut. I picked it up, wiped off the dust, and pressed the side button. The screen flashed. One new voicemail. 2:12 a.m. The exact time the guest in room 608 heard the screaming. Against better judgment, I played it. At first, nothing, just static. Then, a voice. A deep, fearful whisper. Officer Hayes, I found the door, but something else found me. My blood ran cold. I knew that voice.
I'd heard it in Academy recordings, in missing officer files. Officer Harmon. The message continued. Don't look at the corner. Don't let it see you. Don't let it... A harsh, dragging noise cut him off. Something heavy scraping across the floor. A muffled scream. Then, run! The voicemail ended abruptly. The silence that followed was suffocating. I turned toward the far corner of the room instinctively. The same corner where I'd seen the shadow standing earlier. My flashlight's beam shook as I lifted it. Something was forming in the darkness. Slowly, like ink spreading through water. A black outline of a person, tall, crooked, head tilted unnaturally to the side. I stepped backward toward the door, trying to keep my flashlight steady, but as I did, the hallway behind me clicked. The door slammed shut on its own, locked. My radio crackled again. To Hayes, leave the corner alone. Don't let it. The shadow in the corner grew taller. Then it stepped forward, one long, unnatural stride. Its foot made no sound. I grabbed the doorknob, twisting hard. It wouldn't budge. Behind me, something breathed. Slow, heavy, hungry. My fingers slipped on the lock, and I drew my weapon, aiming it at the oncoming darkness. I aimed my weapon at the oncoming darkness, and I shouted, "Stay where you are!" My voice cracked. The shadow lifted an arm. Not upward, downward, pointing straight at the closet. A long groaning sound echoed inside the small room, as if the wall behind the closet was grinding open. The message smeared on the closet wall, "Help me find the door," seemed to shimmer. Something behind that wall was moving, digging, trying to get out, and the shadow kept pointing, as if begging me, forcing me to open it. I stepped back, shaking my head. No, I'm not doing this. The shadow took another step, then another, its face slowly coming into view. Not a face at all, just a shifting mass of darkness. The wall behind the closet cracked, dust falling onto the floor. A cold voice spoke behind me. Not from the shadow, not from the closet, from right beside my ear. "Open the door, Officer Hayes." I spun, heart slamming in my chest, but there was no one there. Just empty darkness and the sound of something crawling inside the wall. The cracking inside the wall grew louder, sharper, like someone dragging metal claws along concrete. Dust drifted from the closet's frame, sprinkling onto the floor in soft, gray flakes. My flashlight flickered again, and when the beam steadied, I saw something push forward from the crack. Not a hand, not a face. Something flattened, like a human silhouette pressed between two sheets of glass. It moved unnaturally, stretching and contracting, sliding deeper through the opening. I aimed my weapon at the wall. "Stay back." The warning felt meaningless. Whatever was inside wasn't bound by the rules of living things. The shadow in the corner drifted closer, not by steps, no movement of limbs, just sliding forward like darkness poured across a floor. Trapped between them, I backed into the center of the room, breath sharp and ragged. My radio hissed in my vest again. A voice broke through, faint, distorted. "Hayes, don't let them find the door." "Dispatch, Harmon?" I spoke into the static. The reply was clear this time. "Leave the room." I didn't need a second suggestion. I lunged for the door, yanking the knob hard, and it twisted freely. Unlocked. But when I tried to pull it open, it slammed back shut with a force that rattled the frame. Like something on the other side had shoved it closed. "Let me out!" I shouted. Then, a soft knock. 3 gentle taps from the hallway side. Someone was out there. I froze, waiting. Another 3 taps. Soft, steady, deliberate. "Who's there?" I demanded. At first, nothing. Then someone whispered through the crack under the door. "Officer Hayes, open up." The voice was human, young. It didn't match the old recordings of Harmon. For a split second, relief washed over me. "Identify yourself," I barked. A pause. Then the voice changed, distorted, layered. "Wrong. Hayes, we're already inside." I stumbled back as the lights in the hall flickered, their glow spilling in thin lines through the bottom of the door. The shadow that had been forming against the far wall suddenly collapsed and stretched across the carpet like spilled ink. It darted toward me. I lifted my flashlight and the gun simultaneously, but the beam cut straight through the shadow as if it were smoke. My breath caught. The light didn't repel it. Instead, it seemed to react, shuddering, vibrating, as if the beam was waking it. The shadow rose, slowly from the ground. The darkness thickened, forming a vague outline of a person. Broad shoulders, long arms, no features, just void. The cracking in the wall behind me reached a breaking point. Something pushed through the gap, pale fingers, thin and too long, scraping along the plaster. Then a face emerged, half of it, flattened and distorted, as if smashed through a pane of glass. One eye bulged outward, bloodshot and rolling wildly, while the other drooped lower, sliding in ways a human eye never should. It spoke without moving its mouth. "You shouldn't have come here." I stumbled toward the door, slammed my shoulder into it hard. The frame groaned, metal hinges rattled. Behind me, the shadow grew taller, towering, its head tilting in jerking motions like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Inside the wall, the pale face pushed further out, its neck stretching unnaturally long. "Help me find the door," it whispered. Same phrase as on the closet wall, same plea, but twisted, desperate, broken. "No," I yelled, shoving the door again. And suddenly, it opened, as if whatever held it shut let go. But the hallway wasn't empty. Standing directly outside the doorway was another shadow. This one shaped distinctly like a man, wearing a police hat. The badge number on the chest glinted faintly. Harmon's number. I froze. The shadow lifted its head as if sensing me. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't looming. It was pleading. A faint whisper leaked from its form. "Don't let it out." Behind me, the cracking wall burst open suddenly, plaster exploding outward. The pale figure trapped inside the wall lunged halfway into the room, fingers clawing air, shoulders bending with gut-wrenching cracks. It wasn't Harmon. It wasn't a person. It was the thing that took him. The hallway shadow, Harmon's shadow, extended an arm toward me, not attacking, guiding, directing me toward the door. "Close it," he whispered. "Close the door." I slammed the door shut immediately, using my entire weight to force it closed. Something rammed it from the inside, a violent thud that made the hinges scream. The shadow of Harmon braced the outside with me, his dark form pressed against the wood. The pale thing inside shrieked, a sound so inhuman I felt it scraping at the bones inside my ears. The door bulged outward. Another slam. The wood splintered. I shouted through clenched teeth, "What is it trying to do?" Harmon's shadow whispered, "It wants the door opened. Not this one, the other one." "What other one?" I shouted. But he didn't answer. Instead, he pushed harder, and I felt the door sealing, the lock sliding into place even without my hands touching it. The pounding inside slowly faded, then stopped. The room fell silent, completely silent. The shadow of Officer Harmon stepped back, turned to face me. His form was fading, unraveling, dissolving into the dim hallway light. I reached out instinctively. "Wait, Harmon, what door is it looking for?" He paused. Even without a face, I felt he was looking at me. His voice was barely a breath. "The one it opened the night I disappeared." And then he vanished, like dust swept away by a cold wind. Behind the sealed door, the whisper returned, barely audible, barely human. "I can still see you." The whisper seeped through the door like smoke, thin, cold, venomous. "I can still see you." Every instinct in me screamed to get out of that hallway, out of that hotel, out of that building entirely. But something stronger pulled me back, stronger than fear. Officer Greg Harmon. He helped me. He saved me. And he was still trapped somewhere. I stepped backwards slowly, keeping my eyes on the door. The hallway lights flickered again, humming faintly as if the electricity itself was terrified. I radioed dispatch, voice low and shaken. "This is Hayes. I need immediate backup at Hillcrest Lodge. Possible 1057 on a missing officer case. Room 607. Do not enter without me." Static. Then a strange distortion. Not dispatch. A whisper. "Come back in." I dropped the radio, heartbeats slamming into my ribs. That wasn't Harmon. That was the thing pretending to be him. I forced myself to move toward the lobby. The hallway lights flickered again, humming faintly as they had stretched longer than before. Halfway down, a cold draft swept past me from behind, but when I turned, the hallway was empty. I moved faster. When I reached the lobby, the night manager, Vernon, was curled behind the counter, trembling like a child hiding from a storm. "You heard it, didn't you? You opened the door again." I closed it. I breathed hard. "What is that thing, and what did you mean Harmon found another door?" Vernon shook his head violently. "You shouldn't stay here. That room, 607, it's not a place, it's a passage." "A passage to what?" I demanded. He swallowed hard. "Not where. What?" The lights above us dimmed in a slow, unnatural wave, like the darkness walked across the ceiling. Vernon's voice cracked. Officer Harmon wasn't the first person to vanish there, but he was the first to open something. What something? The door in the wall. A hidden utility shaft behind the closet. But it ain't on any blueprint. Every time someone opens it, that thing gets closer to this side. I stepped toward him. You said you sealed the room. He nodded. We did. We boarded up the wall, locked it, covered it. But the door opens by itself. Why didn't you tell the police? We tried. They thought we were insane, and after Harmon, no one wanted this place investigated. His case became inconvenient. I clenched my jaw, anger flaring. Harmon deserved more than being written off as a disappearance. Before I could respond, a sharp metallic bang shook the building. The floor trembled under us. Vernon shrieked, "It's opening again!" I sprinted back towards room 607, but stopped halfway down the hall. The door to 607 was now wide open, slowly creaking back and forth like someone had just rushed through it. My flashlight flickered in my hand. Inside, the room was darker than before. Even with my beam, it looked like the walls swallowed light whole. The cracks in the closet wall were wider. Fresh dust spilled onto the carpet. Something inside the walls scraped and dragged faster, frantic. As I stepped into the room, a gust of cold wind blasted past me, slamming the door behind my back. The room groaned, like the entire structure was bending inward. "Haze," the whisper came from the closet. I aimed my gun toward it, but the wall suddenly buckled outward. A long, narrow opening tore open, revealing a dark passageway, no wider than a person. A deep, rhythmic breathing echoed from inside the passage. Then fingers, pale, thin, wrong, wrapped around the inside edge of the wall, gripping it like a doorway frame. Something stepped out. Not crawling this time. Walking, straightening itself. The figure was tall, wrongfully tall, its joints bending backward and snapping into place with each step. Its face was smooth at first, then features rippled across it like shapes pressing through thin fabric. One eye, a nose, half of a mouth. It was imitating a human face, Harmon's face. My stomach churned. The creature tilted its head and spoke in a layered voice, dozens of tones stacked like a broken recording. "Help me find the door." "No," I said firmly, "you're not him." It twitched violently, jaw unhinging, eyes swelling, limbs shaking as if it was being pulled in two directions at once. Then it pointed behind me. I turned. The shadow of Officer Harmon was back, faint, fading, but standing in the center of the room facing the creature. The thing hissed, a warped, animalistic sound, and lunged at Harmon's shadow. Harmon raised a hand, and the shadow pulsed outward like a shock wave, blasting the creature backward into the closet wall. The drywall caved inward, the creature thrashing violently. Harmon's whisper filled the room. "The door it's looking for is the one inside you." My chest tightened. What does that mean? The shadow flickered. When you entered the room, it marked you. It follows those who hear it. That's why you must leave now. But you can't save me, but you can keep it from leaving. He looked down at the badge still in my hand. The metal hummed faintly, vibrating, as if charged with something otherworldly. "Close the passage," he whispered. The creature shrieked, lunging toward me now, limbs swinging, mouth opening into a gaping void of darkness. I threw myself at the wall, using the badge like a key, jamming it into the crack. The wall shuddered like metal meeting metal and began sealing itself, the crack pulling shut like a zipper closing. The creature clawed forward, fingers inches from my throat. "No!" I yelled, pushing the badge harder. The wall snapped shut. The creature's scream cut off instantly. Silence. The entire room exhaled. Lights steadied, air warmed slightly, and Harmon's shadow looked at me one final time. "Thank you." Then he dissolved, slowly, peacefully, into nothing. I backed away from the wall, chest heaving. The closet now looked perfectly normal. No crack, no blood, no passageway. Room 607 was just a room again. But before I left, I heard one final whisper, faint, far away, almost like it was drifting through layers of walls. "I can still see you."
What a ride tonight has been. Officer Hayes once again brought us a story that slips right under the skin and stays there, quietly breathing. Room 607. A place sealed, forgotten, and yet somehow still watching. A huge thank you to Officer Hayes for sharing another nightmarish chapter from his duty on the darkest side of the city. And to all of you listening, if your hotel room ever feels a little too cold, or you hear breathing through a wall that shouldn't have anyone behind it, maybe don't open the door. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, make sure to like, comment, and share it with someone who loves a good midnight scare. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Midnight FM so you never miss the stories hiding just beyond the edge of the flashlight. This is RJ Jacob, signing off for now. Stay safe out there, night owls, and remember, the darkness is never empty. Good midnight, and good night.